I've always tried to make my teaching better, and it's really disappointing when you set an assignment task that you think is really exciting and you get incredibly mediocre work, or you get work that misses the point. It's really disappointing as an academic, and you immediately beat yourself up and you go, what have I done wrong? And I guess I've done a lot of soul searching over the years, and I've always tweaked and amended and changed my unit content, both the teaching of it and the assignments I set, to try and tease out that really strong connection that our students have. They're coming to study these units because they have a passion for the subject area, and then what seems to let them down is their ability to take that passion and communicate it effectively. And as a teacher, that's also my problem. How do I communicate what I mean as to teach that content? How do I find the most effective way to do that? It's an internal challenge. It's one of the delights of being an academic. You can always do better. And indeed, every cohort of students is different. So even if you did a great job one year, just repeating that next year is not going to work. It's a different dynamic. It's a different group of students. You've got to explore where they're at and where you're at now, because you've moved on 1 year on. And find the richness that's there. It's a relationship. You form a relationship with your subject and a relationship with your students. And it's just the three of you there in that space, celebrating that. I suppose if I was summarising teaching, I'd say it's an experiment that never ends. You do something 1 year and you sort of gauge to yourself how you think it works. You look at the student evaluations of the unit. They tell you some useful things, but not necessarily a lot that you don't already know yourself anyway from just the experience of doing it. And then you tweak it or change it for next year, and the experiment continues, and it just goes on. And that's a delight. It keeps you fresh. You learn new techniques perhaps at a forum, and you try that out, or you get a new idea for how you could actually assess someone, a different way of structuring an assessment, and you go with that, and it's endlessly fascinating. I'd always wanted to have the opportunity to structure a unit and do it my way. And so that's the great thing about being a unit coordinator. You have incredible freedom. One of the few freedoms we have left. The university never looks at how you teach, or they don't even look at the direct content of what you're teaching. They just look at the general objectives and the description in the handbook, which is very superficial. And that's a wonderful thing if you're a committed teacher, because you have the freedom to go and take the unit where you want to go, to deliver it in interesting ways, to explore the content in interesting ways. Of course, if you don't have the personality who likes that sort of challenge, it can be daunting, in which case I would strongly encourage having a senior academic or some kind of mentor, or perhaps the person who previously taught that unit, to help you along the way and get guidance. For me, I was invigorated by the idea of being a unit coordinator. I couldn't wait, and I loved it. And I was very reflective on my teaching. I made all the mistakes that everybody makes. I had too many lectures, and I would give a lecture sometimes and then I'd curse myself and go, oh, I can't believe I just did that. I just spoke for an hour and it went over their heads, or it was boring, or whatever. But you just got to, if you reflect on that and you accept that you're not going to be perfect the first time, and probably never be perfect, then you take an attitude of always just trying to improve, and that's a wonderful thing. I personally find that one of the most satisfying parts of my job.